Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Hard Reset, a Cold North production. This is episode number 141, or episode number 2 of our new Leaf.
That's a way of looking at it.
We're going to go with 141. It sounds cooler.
Okay.
So, but this is our reaction podcast, so it's going to be quite a bit shorter because we just have things to react to rather than things to predict. And also, we're both very hungry and going to Chipotle. But
Priorities
are right. So we're going to be reacting to the Xbox Bethesda Games Showcase of 2022. We're gonna go through the list of games.
All right.
But before we do,
Yes.
let's just do broad strokes. How did you feel about the show?
I really enjoyed the show.
Okay.
Honestly. Yeah.
And tell me why.
They did what they've learned to do, which is really focus on gameplay trailers. And there were just, it was one of those ones where, like, you'll see some conferences where you're like, I'm interested in maybe one or two of these games. But this is one where it's just, they kept coming out with games that I'm like, oh, that's interesting enough at least to, like, follow along with. Like, maybe I'm not going to play it, but, like, I'm interested in, like, a ton of these various games. And, yeah, not to mention the initial peak we got at Starfield was fantastic.
Okay, so we're going to have to set Starfield aside because I feel like that's going to be, like, the bulk of our show today.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a little bit torn on the whole showcase. I think that it was I didn't love it. I would give it like a C.
Huh.
As far as like just my general interest.
Yeah.
From a business perspective, I would give it a solid B, maybe even a B plus, because they're in this very unique situation of all throughout the Xbox One generation. The persistent conversation was Xbox has no games, right? Yeah. And all throughout that generation, that was the conversation. And then they started acquiring all these studios. And it's not like they can just acquire studios and have games next year, right?
Yeah.
And so there has to be a transition period of we have acquired, but now we don't have games yet.
Yep.
And they've shown us what they're working on. They've shown us Fable and they've shown us Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
But like there is also this relatively recent conversation about Game Pass fatigue, right? Of like, is it still worth it to be subbing to Game Pass? And I mean, we saw a whole Kotaku article about it of like,
yeah.
And basically the conversation, at least regarding that, is, oh, I'm unsubbing to Game Pass because there's nothing good coming.
Yeah.
And so I think from a business standpoint, it was really smart of them to explicitly focus on this is what's coming to Xbox and Game Pass within the next 12 months.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I want to hear about Perfect Dark. I want to hear about Fable. Like, those two are the biggest ones on my, like, desired list.
Yeah.
Before the show. Now, hands down, Starfield.
Yeah.
But like, I want to hear about Perfect Dark really, really badly. But I think that it was very smart of them to just say, this is the next 12 months.
Yeah.
Because it really combats that entire conversation.
And honestly, I feel like that's not like a radically different tack than what they have been pursuing of like, remember, everything we're showcasing in conference like is also a benefit of Game Pass, of like everything just feeds into you should get Game Pass and play it.
Right. And so it's just a pivot of time frame, right?
Yeah,
because them telling us, because I mean, they announced Perfect Dark a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And so them telling us a year and a half ago, oh, you guys are going to play Perfect Dark on Game Pass someday, has led to a lot of people, I think, feeling like, okay, then I'll subscribe to Game Pass when Perfect Dark comes out.
Yeah.
But until then, I'm not going to. And so the narrowing the focus to the next 12 months, and they even had the graphic at the end of like, this is what we talked about today.
Yeah.
And like having that graphic and being like, here are all the reasons that you should continue to pay that $15 a month 12 times between now and next summer when we show you more.
Yeah.
I think that was like, from a business perspective, really smart.
Yeah.
And
I feel like they've taken like similar approaches in like previous conferences, and like I think for similar good reason of like this conference is basically just a big slideshow on this is why you should stay sub to Game Pass for now until forever.
Exactly. and I do think that it's like they say like it's not uncommon, and Microsoft isn't the only one that does this of like, oh, we're only going to talk. Nintendo does this all the time. Oh, we're only going to talk about games coming in 2022 at this Nintendo Direct. And then they're like, then at the end they're like, but actually here's 2 things coming in 2023 because we want you to feel good about this show. And like, that's fine. I understand why they need to do it, but the fact that Microsoft stuck to it so hard, like they were very disciplined about it in this conference. And I think that discipline did lead me to, oh, well, it wasn't a great show, but then when they showed that graphic and I looked and I'm like, there are like, I'm not super stoked for, but aside from Starfield, there's nothing that they showed us that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm super pumped to, even though I'm going to download this on Game Pass, I'm also going to go buy a physical copy for my shelf. Like aside from Starfield, there was nothing of that caliber.
Yeah, that's okay. That's interesting. And I guess maybe that's also like as a kind of side note why like even hearing the like 1 or 2 stories like the Kotaku article you mentioned about like Game Pass fatigue, I'm like, I don't get that at all because like I feel like the big advantage of Game Pass is yes, you get to play like these big awesome games like Halo Infinite and stuff every once in a while, but it's like that's not why I stay subbed to Game Pass. I stay subbed because I get also this nice plethora of like fun indie games that like are unique and stuff like that like I wouldn't go out and buy it, but because I'm on Game Pass, it's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna try out this game. Oh, it wasn't as good as I thought it was. Okay, I can load up one of a dozen more.
Exactly. And I think that moving forward to avoid that semi disappointment that I had, they just need to find a different way of messaging. Because you go to E3 season for the blockbuster announcements, right? And they need to, like, Pentiment looks cool. Yeah. But I'm also sitting there thinking, well, where is your, like, Last of Us competitor? Where is your God of War? Where the hell is Hellblade? Like, that's kind of where my mind is at with that. And so I think that, like, pivoting the messaging to set better expectations while also still driving hype for like, hey, here's a bunch of smaller games that you're going to be super stoked for. I should also mention that Forza Motorsport, that is a game of that caliber that like that game looked so good.
Yeah, and we called that one.
We did call that one. Even spring 23, like we nailed that. And so so overall a little bit disappointed. Okay. But when they showed that graphic, and I was a little bit disappointed throughout the entire thing, except the Starfield stuff and the Forza Motorsport stuff. Yeah. But when they showed that graphic at the end, I looked at it and I thought, okay, but I'm not like, they're not asking me to spend $60 on each one of these. Yeah, exactly. They're showing me these things as like, hey, you pay $15 a month, play this month. Yeah. And, it's not 12 months of stuff that I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to play that. Mm-hmm. But I bet it's 8. Yeah. Like, I bet 8 months of the next 12 there is something there that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to try that out. Yeah. Like Redfall, honestly, they got me interested in Redfall. That looks good. Yeah. So generally I think that I warmed to the show at the end.
Gotcha.
But let's go through the announcements the games. Let's go through the games. Yeah. It started with Redfall.
Yeah. Redfall. I do remember like when we saw like the initial teaser trailer for that. I'm like, okay, that's like kind of interesting. It's got some weirdness, but like I'm definitely kind of interested. Seeing this, I'm definitely like more interested. Like, yes, it gets like a little bit kind of weird with the one-liners and stuff, but like not in a way that's like overly obnoxious. I feel like, and it's like, okay, this is Left 4 Dead, and I get to blast vampires. Like, yes, sign me up. Oh, and awesome, cool abilities and stuff that are class specific. awesome.
Yeah, cool abilities, and also, and this is what stood out to me most in that trailer was really amazing setting.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it when games are set in New England. I like, for any listeners who aren't aware, I used to live in New England. It was gorgeous. I absolutely adore New England, and when games are set there, it's like this very fun, because I mean, games, you have to kind of, they're kind of these truncated, abbreviated versions of their settings, right? And so like when games are set in New England, it's like a highlight reel of everything I loved about that region.
Yeah.
And so this being set on an island off the coast of Massachusetts, it's like, well, first of all, I'm not a masshole, but second, I loved the setting. The gameplay looked fun. It looked a little more grounded than like Deathloop or what is their other game that I'm thinking of? Dishonored. Yeah. And honestly, like, that's a good thing for me. It looked a little more grounded than those, a little more just like a classic shooter than those games were.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. And yeah, that's definitely the other thing that really sold it for me is it's like, okay, Arcane has always been great at doing gameplay, especially intermixing abilities and stuff with it. So it's like, I've got next to zero doubt that this will play great.
Yeah, I have never thought that Arcane is like absolutely stellar at their shooting. I've always thought Arcane's shooting is like just a tiny bit wonky.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's been totally forgivable because the other things you're doing in their gameplay, like especially thinking of Prey, which I know is like their least played game.
Yeah.
But Prey was so good. And the more of those abilities that I can't remember what the aliens in that game are called at this, like right off the top of my head, but the more of those abilities you adopted and like that balance of like, you don't want to become one of those aliens was such a fun thing, because those abilities made the game more fun.
Yeah.
But you're kind of don't fly too close to the sun.
Gotcha.
That was just such an incredible design. So yeah, I went from like basically a 0 on Redfall to like a solid 7 for excitement.
Yeah, I'd say an 8 for me.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game. And that's a game I'm going to play in October.
Yeah, and again, that's the fucking incredible value of Game Pass. It's like, I have 4 more people with Game Pass, so it's like, I absolutely know that I can convince 4 people of, hey, you don't have to pay money, just download this game that is on your subscription anyway. Let's go have some co-op fun.
Exactly. You know what? There was one other game that was like that caliber of, well, 2 other games that were that caliber. You know what? Maybe I was too harsh.
Yeah.
There were 4 games that I can really think of that were like, oh, this was so good that it's like, I'm going to download it and I'm going to buy a physical copy, that I'm super pumped for. So, but we'll talk about those other 2 in just a minute.
Yeah.
Hollow Knight Silksong
looked high quality, looked like more Hollow Knight. It's a series I've never really gotten into, but like if it looked like, if you like Hollow Knight, this is going to be more Hollow Knight and just as good as before.
Yeah, so Silksong, I think, is I'm kind of surprised that you didn't play Hollow Knight.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those ones that's been like, it's orbited near my interest, but not quite crossed that threshold for me to play it.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised you didn't. I'm kind of surprised it didn't cross that threshold when you got so into Ori.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but yeah, so looked great. It was very surprising to see it on the Xbox stage though, because it has kind of found its home on Switch.
Huh.
And so it has this very strong Nintendo connotation to it.
Okay.
And I you know, every Nintendo Direct, especially the Nindies, the Nintendo Indie Directs, everyone is like, "Oh, we're gonna see Silksong. We're gonna see Silksong." And so to see Silksong on the Xbox stage, I was a little bit surprised.
Yeah,
like you said, looked really high quality. It's not a game I've ever played.
Yeah,
but I can understand why people are so stoked for it.
Yeah, no, great to showcase.
Yeah. High on Life.
High on Life was one I was actually like it was a game I did not ask for, but I'm like, okay, this looks interesting.
This is one that oh no, this was the Squanch Games one.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah. So I'm guessing you weren't thrilled about it.
Yeah, I wasn't. And here's my thing is like, how many times are you going to put Morty in are you going to rename Morty and put him in a different tied or a different IP?
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't.
It's definitely a humor style that like I definitely understand how it like grows old on people and stuff. It hasn't quite grown old on me yet. And like moreover, like it looked like fun, interesting gameplay, which like especially as I get older, I noticed like those are the games I really tend to gravitate towards. Is it's like I don't want another Call of Duty, I don't want another shooter. Like give me a fun, unique gameplay experience, and it looks like that game will deliver on that.
Yeah, and was that one coming to Game Pass?
Not sure.
Coming to Xbox Game Pass on day one. Yeah, so I'll play that.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll definitely dip into it and see how it is. But I don't know. I'm kind of over the whole Justin Roiland thing.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
But and that again, that's the value of Game Pass.
Yeah,
is like, I'm gonna play it, even though I'm over the Roiland thing. And so already, here are two games. We've seen 3 in the showcase so far.
Yeah.
2 of them, I'm like, well, it's gonna be on Game Pass. I'm interested enough that I'll play it.
Yeah. It's a great show. I'm telling you.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So then there was some League of Legends stuff.
Yeah, I don't play it, but I know enough about MOBAs that them being like, oh yeah, literally all the Legends are just free now that you're on Game Pass. That's a big get for Microsoft, I feel like.
Yeah, that's it's similar. I feel like it's similar in scale to when PUBG made its console debut on Xbox.
Yeah.
Of like, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's not the biggest thing ever, but it's a big deal.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like League of Legends has been going on for like years in spite of like the controversies at Riot and like just how long the game has been out and like the degree of toxicity in that community, et cetera, et cetera. It's like people still play the shit out of that game.
The game has legs.
Yeah, exactly.
Big time.
And now, anyone who's playing League of Legends, it's like, why are you not subbing to Game Pass unless you have literally already bought all the champions?
Yeah, which I could understand how the people who have already bought them all feel pretty burned by this, but at the same time, like, they're so invested in that game that I don't think that they're really paying that much attention to anything else.
Yeah. And, not to mention, it's like, okay, the game's been out for, like, a long time. Like, you've had time to play with all those champions already.
Okay, so Plague Tale Requiem.
Fantastic.
Oh my
fantastic.
God, this is one of them that I will buy a physical copy. I was actually looking for a physical copy of Innocence on eBay the other day, and they are still pretty expensive. They're like $30.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will buy a physical copy of this. I absolutely loved Innocence until it fell apart in the final 2 bosses. That happen immediately following each other.
Yeah.
But Anicia, over here.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, no, it got rough towards the end, but like, especially because, again, you can just get on Game Pass, play through the vast majority of it, maybe play through the end bit and be a little bit disappointed, but it's like, you got a killer game experience for the first, I'd
several
say 4/5
hours.
Of the game.
I would say more than that. For the first 90% of that game, it's stellar.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, looking at Plague Tale Requiem, it looks fantastic. I'm so excited for more of it. I think that even more so than Flight Simulator, I think that Plague Tale is evidence of why Microsoft needs to acquire Asobo, because it is such, like, if Microsoft acquired Asobo, just overnight they have not someone that can compete with like Insomniac, but someone that is within striking distance of Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
Like, there is Naughty Dog level of potential in Asobo. They just have to reach for it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because, especially playing through Plague Tale Innocence the first time through, it's like, I have literally never heard of this studio before. I have not heard of this game before. It's kind of a weird concept, and yet it looks as fantastic as it does in the trailers, which is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
And the gameplay is on fucking point the entire time.
And the gameplay is so creative. Like, the way that they use the rats as a mechanic to truly make you feel so claustrophobic all throughout that first game. I like the puzzles with the rats and everything, and the way the rats change the combat scenarios. I finished that game and I was like, I just want more rats, which is not something I've ever felt before.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those things that it's like, okay, usually you know when you're getting into like some like kind of weird out there game like that, it's like, okay, I know I'm going to have to make sacrifices in terms of like visual fidelity, or it's going to be buggy or something like that. This was like a polished AAA game like that.
Like,
and it came from a studio I had never heard of before.
I went into Plague Tale Innocence feeling like this is going to be like a solid AAA experience, right? And then what they delivered was like rock solid AAA experience. And that just completely blew my mind. So I'm so pumped for Plague Tale Requiem. I'm incredibly thrilled that they're still targeting 2022. Because like the rest of 2022 is starting to look really, really good. I mean, not just specifically Xbox, but like I'll play The Last of Us Part 1 this year, and I am going to follow it up with a second playthrough of Part 2, even though that's against my better judgment. I'll play God of War this year. I'll play Plague Tale Requiem this year. I'll play Redfall this year. I'm going to replay Resident Evil Village this year. Like, the rest of 2022 is starting to look pretty stacked, and I'm very excited about that. But then beginning of 2023, Forza Motorsport. This looks like it blows my mind, because I actually got a review code for Gran Turismo 7, and I even said to you before that game was out, I had played it, and I said to you, this game is amazing. And now looking at Motorsport 7 or Motorsport, it's like, this is what Gran Turismo 7 should have been.
No, definitely the first thing that's struck in my mind for me is because obviously the comparison is, like you said, to Gran Turismo. It's like Gran Turismo, like the cars and stuff, like look fantastic, but like from what I've seen, like the landscapes and stuff are pretty low on detail, to the point where it's like it almost feels like this is something from last gen.
Oh, not even last gen, PS3.
Yeah, something like that. And then you look at Forza Motorsport. Everything in that game,
foliage in Motorsport,
gorgeous,
and like, then also the way that they went into the details of like, oh, here are the new things that we're adding to change the simulation gameplay. It's like, that is like, they're in a league of their own. At this point, Turn 10 and Motorsport do not have a real driving simulation game competitor. Like, the fact that I can't even sell my cars in Gran Turismo 7 3 months after launch. And I look at Motorsport and they're telling me about how the time of day will affect the temperature of the asphalt so it interacts with the compound of the rubber in my tires differently. They are so above and beyond polyphony at this point that it's just a joke. Like, and like, I would have loved to have seen them get closer, like hit that fall like I was predicting, but like, just to get closer in relation to Gran Turismo for that comparison. But a year is still decent, and like,
and clearly they're putting that time to good use.
Oh yeah. I mean, I am so pumped for Motorsport, and I've never been a Motorsport guy. I love Horizon, but I've always been a Gran Turismo guy, and that's just like That's just like a nostalgic, like I played Gran Turismo 1 and 2 on my PlayStation 1 when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then 3, I played a lot of 3 on PS2.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and so it's just a thing that a legacy thing from my childhood.
Yeah.
But this motorsport looks so good.
Yeah.
And GT7 was so bad.
Yeah.
That it's like, okay, I'm at the point where I'm switching to motorsport.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just the thing that, really stood out to me too is like, I am not someone who plays driving sims. You know this about me.
Yeah.
But the fact that even I'm like, I am confident in saying I do not know why you why you would choose Gran Turismo over this upcoming game.
Oh yeah. And so
based on what we saw.
So are you because I know that you're not a racing guy.
Yeah.
Are you gonna play motorsport? Does it look that good?
Probably not. Like, I mean, I will play it basically like if enough of my friends like you and other people are like all playing Forza Motorsport, and you're like, come on, join us for a race, and then it's like, okay, I guess I'll download this game that I have access
on
to
Game
for
Pass.
free.
Yeah, exactly.
And play some games with you guys, and even if I only wind up playing 2 races, it's like, yeah, and it didn't cost me anything.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it costs you your subscription, but like whatever.
Yeah.
But okay, so because we're in agreement, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
But it's not quite there for a tiger don't change his stripes, right? You're not changing your stripes to play a racing sim.
Yeah, no, it looks amazing, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's like, I want to have a fun power fantasy, and driving real close and at just the right speed around the corner doesn't do it for me.
Okay, fair enough. Speaking of another simulator, 40th anniversary of Microsoft Flight Simulator, bringing new aircraft.
Yes.
Including helicopters.
Yes.
How do you feel about helicopters?
So excited about helicopters. So there's like one helicopter I've seen in Flight Simulator so far, but like it's like a little bit weird. So to see more helicopters is really cool because like, especially this, like I recently got into a YouTube binge of just like looking up how to fly helicopters and checking that stuff out. So the fact that I'll be able to, with Game Pass for no additional cost,
yeah, exactly.
be able to boot up Flight Simulator in my VR PC rig and play around with flying a helicopter with realistic controls. It's like, I am stoked for that.
Yeah. I totally understand. I'm not as pumped for helicopters as you are. But gliders. Gliders are, I have always been fascinated with gliders in like the fact that they can stay up for so long.
Interesting.
Because they are just absolutely an achievement of engineering.
Yeah.
And that's so fair. And I think that the concept of gliding instead of having a motor or having an engine will I think that will add a very different element to the gameplay of Flight Sim.
Yeah.
And so I am most excited for gliders.
Yep.
It sounds like you're more excited for helicopters than you are gliders.
Yeah, more excited for helicopters. Also, love the crossover I didn't know I needed of Pelican and Flight Simulator.
Okay, and here's what I love the idea of the Pelican in Flight Simulator. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah.
Here's what stood out to me most about that. How high does Flight Simulator go?
So
is there a ceiling?
So they have recently added in some planes that can get higher, namely the Dark Star from Top Gun.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a like preset limit to the game world. It's just normally like any helicopter or any aerial vehicle you fly like can only get up so high.
Okay, because I see the Pelican basically getting into like low orbit.
Yeah. And yeah, I was actually looking at some like discussion around it because like it's out already, obviously.
Yeah.
And like there's like something on it that says like, oh, like you're locked to this altitude until remote activation or something. So people are unsure if it's like a neat Easter egg that you have to figure out some puzzle to get it to do that, or if it's a thing of like they're going to unlock that ability at a later date.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun to see that develop. Definitely keep me updated on that because I know you're more into that game than I am.
Yeah.
Okay. Overwatch 2, free to play, coming in October.
Yeah.
How did you feel about this?
Free to play is nice. I didn't see anything that changed my mind off of the initial impression seeing the like beta or early access that launched recently of like seeing the gameplay. It's like, this is literally just Overwatch.
Exactly. And free to play is really the only thing about Overwatch 2 that I've seen that makes me think like, oh well, I guess maybe I'll play Overwatch 2.
Yeah, it again just makes me feel like they shouldn't have gone with this Overwatch 2 thing. They should have just been like, Overwatch is getting a new season, and also we're releasing this spin-off game that is the campaign. But it's not Overwatch 2.
Absolutely. And even like do a major graphical overhaul. So like Fortnite recently got moved into Unreal 5, and it's like you could do that to Overwatch, right? So I don't know. Overwatch 2 was very like yawn kind of thing.
Yeah.
Another one that was very yawn, Ara History Untold. It's like a...
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah, I saw that.
It looked. I thought it was like almost Civ-like. I don't know.
And it's weird because I feel like that space has gotten like... Obviously, it always has been and always probably will be like a pretty small space of like one, maybe two
very
games.
niche.
But like, even despite that, I feel like there have been a lot of games focusing on a very similar like way of selling the game of like, you get to like take these elements of history and rewrite it into whatever you want. That like seeing this trailer, I'm like, is this a trailer for one of those other games I've already seen about this?
Absolutely.
Oh no, it's Ara, which is just a
History
weird
Untold.
name.
And like, I don't know, maybe like obviously I'm biased because I'm not interested in the genre in general.
Yeah.
But this one didn't do anything to pique my interest in the genre. And so that one was, I don't know. That one was a big yawn for me. ESO Online High Isle coming June 21st, so next week. More ESO.
Mm-hmm.
I like you and I think you and I both dipped from ESO shortly after launch.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not that we didn't play a lot of ESO because we played a lot of ESO.
Yeah.
But it's a situation of like, I'm very Elder Scrolls is just such a natural universe to like, Tamriel is such a natural world to have an MMORPG in.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy that it's experienced the success it has.
Yeah.
And this looks like it's a pretty solid update.
Yeah.
It's not something I'll be playing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely same. I mean, like, I've tried to pick up ESO, like, twice, one time at launch to get into it, and it just hasn't stuck either time. And, like, I know it's obviously still really popular with the people who are playing it, and, like, I don't know, looking at the trailer we got, it's like, I don't know enough to really judge about. I don't know too much about, like, High Isle lore and stuff like that. But, like, I assume, especially, I know they mentioned, like, oh, this is the first time we're going a High Isle in an Elder Scrolls game. It's like, okay, that's cool. Like, the lore buffs are going to really enjoy that. But it's definitely a case of, like, I can't even really give a good opinion on, like, if it looks like it's going to be good DLC. But, like, if you play Elder Scrolls Online and you're excited about this, awesome. I have no room to tell you otherwise.
I'm very happy for you. Uh-huh. I will not be joining you.
Yes.
Another game that I feel that way about, Fallout 76, The Pit.
Yeah. I haven't played enough of the Fallout games to even recognize The Pit, even though they said it was like an iconic location.
So I mean, I could be totally wrong, and maybe this is just me thinking I'm smarter than I am.
Yeah.
The fact that it's The Pit, capital P, 2 T's, makes me think... And it takes place in West Virginia, makes me think Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And so maybe it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool if they were adding that level of a region to the map.
Yeah.
I think both of us were just so completely disinterested in Fallout 76 early on when it launched terribly.
Yeah.
and there hasn't been anything that's been like tempting me to, oh yeah,
No.
I'll go check out Fallout 76.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. It's definitely, there's nothing about the updates that has tempted me back, but it does sound like they've done a good job, especially with the loyal fans, which, to be fair, like, you're doing a good job appeasing the loyal fans who've stuck with you even through the disastrous launch. It's like,
Yeah, and those are the only people that have stuck with you at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, but it does seem like they are kind of slowly turning that ship around potentially.
Yeah.
Which is awesome for them.
Awesome for them, and also good for just the entire industry. Good for the environment, right? Like, we're gaming environment, that is. But like, more competition is always a good thing. Also, options are always a good thing, because if we weren't interested in Fallout 76 at first, but then 10 or 12 years later, there's this kick-ass Fallout MMORPG that we can jump into. That's great, and that's a testament to their steadfastness in developing the game. It's a testament to the community for continuing to want to support the game. It's Ghost, what are you doing? Come here. It's a testament to the community for their continuing to support the game. Overall, just like good on them.
Yeah.
But even now, I'm not interested.
Yeah, I'm not interested, but I'm not like disinterested. Like, if I had like 3 friends who all of a sudden were like, "Oh, dude, Fallout 76 is actually awesome. You should hop in with us." I'd absolutely do it.
Yeah.
Especially with it being on Game Pass.
Yeah, yes, that's the thing. If I had, exactly, that's exactly it. If I had 3 friends who were like, "Bro, we're having so much fun with Fallout 76," I would be like, "Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a character, see what this is like."
Yeah, for sure.
Forza Horizon 5. Hot Wheels. Yeah. So this one is gonna be awesome. Super stoked. I will probably buy this when it comes out later this week.
Yeah. The tracks looked awesome.
The tracks look so great. And B, I think that this is really funny because last fall, so Hot Wheels games, I mean, you played Hot Wheels games when you were a kid, right?
Yeah, I played a couple.
And so and like I did too, and there were like, the concept was always great, right? And there was Hot Wheels Unleashed came out last fall.
Yeah.
I got a review code for that, and I was like, the essence of my review was like, this should have been so much better than it was. And it really, like, I don't know. I really wanted it to work.
Yeah.
But it didn't. It was just way too barren. But now with Hot Wheels coming to Forza Horizon 5, which it's like, I already know that Forza Horizon 5 is an incredible racing game.
Yeah.
Driving game.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that, Ghost. You got your bully stick? But but like, knowing that they're going to be taking Forza Horizon driving onto the Hot Wheels track.
Yeah.
I'm so much more excited. I really think that this is going to end up being the Hot Wheels game I wanted Hot Wheels Unleashed to be.
Yeah.
So, I know that the answer is probably going to be no, but do you think you're going to buy this?
This one is once again going into the pile of like, if I have enough friends who are like, "Oh, we've been playing this for fucking weeks now, you should come play with us." It's like, yeah, no, it looks fun. Like, even though I'm not into driving games, it's like, it looks fun enough.
And you liked Forza Horizon pretty well, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely, Forza Horizon for me is a very perfect Game Pass game. Of it's like, if you're like, oh, spend $60 on this driving game, it's like, I do not like driving games enough to do that. But if you're like, hey, you have access to this, and other
and
people
this game
are playing
is a solid 10. So,
yeah, and this is like a really solid driving game and pretty fun and arcadey. It's like, hell yeah. I spent a decent amount of time in Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah, I think you spent more time with Horizon 5 than I did.
Yeah.
And it became like a situation of like, yeah, absolutely. Like, even though it's a 10 out of 10, I don't like and this is you speaking, I don't like driving games enough to spend $60, but it's on Game Pass and it's a 10 out of 10. Yeah. And suddenly the appeal of it's on Game Pass and it's a 10 out of 10 is like wow, I'm so stoked to play this,
Yeah.
versus like, oh, I don't really like driving games, even though it's a 10 out of 10, $60,
Yeah.
Exactly. Game Pass just turns expectations completely on their head.
Yeah.
Okay, so then after that, Arc 2. I will cede the floor to you. I have less than zero interest in Arc.
Yes.
Tell me how you felt about Vin Diesel on his dinosaur with his family.
So it's definitely interesting because like Wildcard has had a wild time as a developer. Especially as anyone who keeps up with their games, you learn to take their promises for very, very little.
Okay.
Their game is a buggy mess, but there is no other game quite like it. And for that very particular itch of, I want to have survival crafting and also tame and ride around giant dinosaurs because that's badass. What other game are you going to play? Obviously, like, their last attempt to move away from, like, the classic Arc was the, like, Atlas game that came out that was basically dead on arrival.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You told me about this.
Yeah. I think reading a little bit more about it, they like tried to overhaul the combat system and do a bunch of other changes, and it was still a buggy mess. But now the gameplay was weird and wonky, and there were a bunch of new things that just were broken in various ways, and so everyone was like, we're just going to stick with the original broken one that at least we know the ways it's broken and it has more content for it.
We know the ways it's broken. We know people like it. So we're just going to keep doing it.
We're going to stick with that. That said, I'm definitely interested to see how Arc 2 comes out because like definitely the first Arc has shown its age.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Despite the fact it still keeps getting awesome content put out for it. So if they could take Arc, make a new version of Arc that is similar but like updated, has less baggage of like just built-in bugs that have existed forever, that's awesome. The Vin Diesel stuff I could not care less about. Apparently I was seeing something that like actually Vin Diesel in real life is a big huge fan of Arc the game. So it's not like so it sounds like it's not like they spent a ton of money making him fit it. It's just like, I want to be a part of Arc 2. And so they're like, yeah, we're not going to say no to you, Vin Diesel.
And that would actually make sense because he is a huge gamer.
Yeah.
And he has a history of doing things, of like working for other things besides money.
Yeah.
So like he absolutely shepherded the 2 Riddick games through production and like, especially with Escape from Butcher Bay, the first Riddick game, which was the better of the 2. They were both very good, but Escape from Butcher Bay was just incredible. Yeah. He went to the studio multiple times. He went to bat for that game and said, like, hold on, look, you got to let him finish the game. that came out more Stallone than anything, but like he really went to bat for that game multiple times.
Yeah,
and then. Also, he had, and I know that you don't watch the Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah.
But he was the main, like he was the star of the first one, and then, or the co-star of the first one. Gotcha. And then he didn't appear in the second one at all. Mm-hmm. And then nobody from the first 2 movies appeared in the third one at all until the very end. He made like a cameo, and he had like 1 line.
Yeah.
And basically the story is that they were fully aware of how bad the movie they were making was. Mm-hmm. And they said, look, this series is basically dead.
Yeah.
It's going straight to DVD after this.
Yeah.
But let's just throw up one last Hail Mary. And so they contacted Vin Diesel. Mm. They said, we have basically nothing left in the budget. Can we please get a cameo from you? And he said, I'll tell you what, you give me the Riddick IP. Mm-hmm. Just give me that property.
Yeah.
And I'll come do it. And at the time, again, Riddick also basically dead.
Yeah.
And they said, okay. And so in exchange for 30 seconds of screen time, maybe less, he got Riddick. Yeah. And so it wouldn't surprise me for like, if he's like, hey, give me like three packages of double stuffed Oreos and I'll come be in Arc 2. And like that's how he wound up in Arc 2. Who knows? Who knows what Vin Diesel got in his crazy bargaining system of a world?
Yeah.
But like
he got his character rendered riding a T-Rex. What more payment could you want?
I feel like he could have found someone on Fiverr to do that for him. But
I mean, this is a high quality render in that trailer.
Okay, it would have been not everything on Fiverr is $5. Okay, so after Arc 2, Scorn. Now, Scorn, first of all, I'm way less excited for this game than I used to be.
Yeah.
Second, I think that they are aware of that.
Yeah. It's definitely a thing of like, I admire your commitment to the whole Geiger aesthetic.
You went too hard in that direction.
I feel like that's part of what makes the Geiger aesthetic is that it's very unsettling. If everything is unsettling all the time, then nothing kind of is.
If everyone is super, no one is.
Exactly. Like, I feel like they needed to incorporate some like other elements of that to make the Geiger stuff feel unsettling in contrast to the normal stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Very similar to like what Alien did in the early movies.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like they're basically begging the audience who is still remaining interested in this game to pump the brakes and saying, you know, this, especially they announced a $40 price point.
Yeah.
I think that's them saying, look, this is not what you thought it was going to be. This is not what we even tried to sell it as.
Yeah.
And that game has had a very troubled development because it's, so it was shown off with the introduction of the Series X, like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, damn.
But it was actually announced. That game was announced like 7 years ago.
Jeez.
And it was like basically canceled. And then when it was re-announced like 2 years ago, it was basically bringing it back to life.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like they're basically saying like, look, this game has to be done at this point.
Yeah.
And they're shoveling it out the door, giving it a $40 price point to try and not piss people off.
Yeah.
And not and kind of just keep it quiet and move away from it.
Yeah.
Very similar. I bet it'll get the Crossfire X treatment.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, no, it definitely feels like a tech demo or basically like a trailer game of like, it makes some really interesting trailers that make it look like, oh, hey, we have this really cool, unique game on the system. And it's like, yeah, I know, to be fair, that's definitely true, but like, it looks like that is the entirety of the game, is just exploring these Geiger environments. And it's like, I love Geiger environments just enough to spend 100% of my time playing a game that's just all Geiger environments.
Exactly. So I'm not particularly pumped for that one.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a fan base out there that's like, no, we just fucking love Geiger aesthetic so much that we are going to love that game, and that's awesome for those
Good
people.
for you guys.
Yeah.
I'm not one of you.
Yeah.
Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn.
That looked interesting.
It looked interesting, right?
Yeah.
It looked and like
on Game Pass, I'm definitely gonna play it.
Exactly. Game Pass, I'm definitely gonna play it. It looked, based on the trailer, I have similar expectations to what I had initially for Plague Tale Innocence. Of like, this is gonna be like really, really polished triple I, right? Yeah. But then Plague Tale kind of blew me away.
Yeah.
And so hopefully Flintlock does the same thing.
Yeah.
It looks very polished action adventure in a very in a unique time frame that we haven't really seen explored much in video games before. So
I think it did a good job of riding that line between like, it seems familiar enough of like kind of Dark Souls-esque combat, but like unique enough with your like time and space teleporting space fox and like, oh, we're gonna go kill gods and stuff like that. That's like, no, like, this is interesting but not like crazy out there.
Yeah. So yeah, Flintlock, interested. Minecraft Legends.
I'm more interested in it than the last Minecraft.
Dungeons.
Yeah, Dungeons.
Yeah.
Which, like, Dungeons, I get why they did. Of it's like, Minecraft is a fucking great property for kids. Like, can we make another game in that vein that's, like, pretty basic that kids will enjoy? Yes, we can do that, and it's awesome.
And then along comes Legends. Like, this is basically baby number 2.
Yeah, baby number 2. And, like, this time it looks like there's actually, like, building mechanics of, like, build your base. I'm like, oh, I'm more interested in this because it has more of what I like Minecraft for.
Right. Right. It definitely connects harder with that Minecraft identity than I think Dungeons did. I didn't play Dungeons, but like definitely looks to be connecting harder to Minecraft.
Yeah.
Okay. Lightyear Frontier.
I was excited for that.
I don't remember this trailer at all.
Oh my gosh. I understand why you don't remember it. It is a game that looks like it's right up my alley.
Tell me what you think of it while I...
Yeah. It's like a survival crafty. You land on a planet and you're going a new start, so you have a mech suit and you get to
and it's like farming.
Yeah,
it looks like almost like No Man's Sky and Stardew Valley had a baby.
Yeah, kind of like that with that like folksy high tech aesthetic, which is really fun. And yeah, you get to build up your farm and equip your mech with cooler stuff. So it's like No Man's Sky, Farming Simulator, Stardew Valley all had a baby. Maybe some little bit of Satisfactory. We'll see how deep their systems in that go. But everything about that, I'm like, I want to fucking play that.
I'm happy for you.
Yep.
Even on Game Pass, I will not be playing this game.
That's fine. Oh, and it's 4-player co-op for you to not play with me.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you what. The way you said, about Forza of like, oh, if I also Fallout of like, yeah, if I have 3 friends who are like, oh yeah, you got to play with us.
Yeah.
No matter how many of my friends say, oh, you got to play this Lightyear Frontier game with us. Probably not going to play it.
Your loss. More farming for me, buddy.
Okay. Gunfire Reborn. Was I asleep for a few minutes?
That was the little like furry characters running around in like shooter arena type thing.
Oh.
I remember they had this weird transition of like going down a hallway, but the hallway was like spinning impossibly, and I'm like, this was a neat transition for approximately 2 seconds, and then it's just you're obstructing a large chunk of the screen.
Yeah, so this was when that feeling of, okay, I get it, but why are these games all small?
Yeah,
started to really settle in for me.
Yeah,
of like,
I can see that,
and like especially with, it was Gunfire Reborn, and before that it was Lightyear Frontier, and before that it was Minecraft Legends, and before that it was, Flintlock, which admittedly looks realistic and good, but looks AAA, and before that it was Scorn, and before that it was Ark, and I was just sort of waiting, kind of thinking, okay, where are these, where are the big Sony narrative competitors that I'm wanting from Xbox? And
we're not gonna get those for a hot minute.
Yeah, and to see Gunfire Reborn, I think that it was just the moment that it started to settle in that like, okay, I'm not gonna get what I'm wanting out of this, and that made me angry at Gunfire Reborn even more.
Yeah, I can definitely see why that game especially would be one of those like turning point games of like, okay, it just feels like I'm getting a bunch of like not awesome indie games in this conference.
Yeah.
That game definitely for me like stuck with me as a like, okay, like I can see that this might be like a potential breakout success, but it's definitely a game of like, I'm gonna check out reviews when it comes out. If it's not anything spectacular, I'm probably not even gonna bother with it.
Similar approach to like Biomutant, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I was significantly more excited for Biomutant. Yeah. This one definitely just looked like it has the potential to be like, oh no, actually the gameplay in this is like really solid and fluid and fun.
Yeah.
But aside from that, it's like,
yeah, fair enough. Kind of on your radar, but
yeah, that's
unless it reviews really well,
exactly,
you won't be there. But Game Pass.
Yeah.
So
honestly, for this one, it's definitely a thing of like, if the reviews don't come through, I'm not even gonna bother downloading.
wow.
Yeah.
Throwing shade at Gunfire Reborn.
I have so many other games on this list to download.
I appreciate not being the only one who was really sour on Gunfire Reborn.
Yeah, I won't even say I was sour on Gunfire Reborn. It's just like, it is a meh game.
Okay, the last case of Benedict Fox.
I love the stylistic choices in this. My sister loves Eldritch Horror and will absolutely adore this game.
Yeah, I loved the art style. Honestly, like, if this is like a Metroidvania style game,
yeah,
I foresee this one being really interesting. Again, it's not what I was wanting, but then I'm watching it and I'm thinking like, but this does look good. And if this is a Metroidvania rather than just a straight platformer, this will be really fun, especially like exploring kind of a like a haunted house type area with kind of a portal to another dimension type experience.
Yeah, exploring the memories of dead people, interacting with some demon over your shoulder that shows you things that may drive you insane type of stuff. Like, the only other, like, Eldritch Horror game that I know of like this is, like, Call of Cthulhu, which is, like, one game.
Yeah.
And this looks much more, like, I don't know. I guess accessible because it's just, like, a 2D platformer.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing I really hope it doesn't end up being is just a 2D platformer. I want that exploration of a Metroidvania.
Yeah.
Which, like, I think Metroidvanias work better in 2D anyways.
Yeah.
But like a 2D Metroidvania with this aesthetic and like the feeling of exploring this environment, oh man.
Yeah. And it just looks like another one of these games that it's like, this isn't going to be a big time investment for me. This is something I can probably download and like burn through in a weekend if I really get into it.
Yeah.
And it's on Game Pass, and it's a very unique story and gameplay. I love that.
Absolutely. Game Pass Spring 2023. I think we will both be there for that. And it looks like Escapist Magazine is saying that it is a cinematic Metroidvania. So hopefully they do some really cool things with exploration. As Dusk Falls.
I can definitely see this like reviewing really well. I personally am not too interested in it. Honestly, the aesthetic of like the like kind of stop motion comic book panels of characters moving.
So it's not entirely stop motion. It's like
it's
comic booky. It's like a moving comic book in the sense of the characters aren't moving, but the environments around them are.
Yeah, exactly. And like it's definitely like an interesting looking aesthetic. I definitely see where like a lot of people are really going to enjoy that. It was distracting for me.
I didn't feel really strongly one way or another about the aesthetic. I felt like it really drove home the point that they're like, yeah, it's a visual novel.
Yeah.
And I think
that's definitely the other thing that got me is it's like it's very clear you put like all of your budget towards your writers and then just making sure you had a very unique visual style.
Yeah, you put all of your budget towards your writers. And then you hired someone on Fiverr to do your drawings.
Yeah, basically.
Which they're good-looking drawings. Again, things cost more than $5 on Fiverr. But
and why do they even call it Fiverr?
I don't know if anything costs less than $5.
Okay. Anyway.
But I think that the way that this trailer was presented actually did it a disservice. Because when they said, you know, it's a visual novel.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, unless you're DDLC, unless you're Doki Doki Literature Club,
okay,
I'm not fucking interested in a visual novel.
Yeah.
Right? Doki Doki, absolutely, I'm into that.
Yeah. I mean, there very clearly is the market out there for these types of games with like Telltale, Life is Strange, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, I am absolutely sure that this game will find its audience there.
And there will be a lot of people that like it a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people who really enjoy it unless it like completely shits the bed. especially with the distraction of the characters moving in like stop motion, I'm like, I'm not interested in this.
Well, and so they brought it as a visual novel at first, but then it looks like there was significantly more to it with the branching paths.
Yeah.
Than they had kind of initially given us the impression.
Yeah, which is good.
Which is great. And so suddenly I'm like, oh, like on the back end of that trailer, I was like, oh, I might play this.
Yeah.
On the front end, I was like, I'm not going to play a visual novel. Yeah. Like, and it's not because visual novels are bad. It's just because I'm not into them.
Yeah, not for you.
And so, but then on the back end, it's like, oh, this seems like it's going to be more akin to Until Dawn with a worse visual style.
Yeah.
And like, okay, yes, Until Dawn and like the visual styling of Until Dawn, going for that realism look, especially with mocapping real actors and reconstructing their faces.
Yeah. Was
obviously what I want from that game.
Yeah.
And it's obviously, in my opinion, better than what's it even called? Dusk something? As Dusk Falls.
Yeah.
It's obviously better than what As Dusk Falls is doing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But the branching paths has me more interested than I initially thought.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things of like, I'm not even going to fault them for making the decisions they did on like budget allocation and stuff like that, because like it's clearly been proven that there is a group of people who just really want an interactive choose your own adventure storybook, and like far and away the biggest concern about that is what the story is. Like the visuals and stuff is definitely secondary to that.
Absolutely.
And like as long as you have a unique artistic style, like you're gonna get your fans. So yeah, it's like, why spend the money on mocap and stuff unless you are I forget who the devs are for
Supermassive.
Yeah, unless you're Supermassive, why spend the money?
Absolutely. Okay. Naraka Blade Point.
Looked kind of interesting. I know nothing about the series. The teaser trailer was definitely felt like it was intended for like, hey,
the audience that is already there.
Exactly.
It did nothing to communicate to us who haven't played the game what it is. Like
crazy action sequences fighting other people.
I walked away from the game having zero idea what that game is.
Yeah.
And like the people who are into that game, I feel like it's just I feel like it was a bad trailer.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a bad trailer because it wasn't interesting. Like the action sequences look cool.
Yeah.
Right. But it's a bad trailer because it's like, okay, here's this game coming to a new platform that is tailor-made for people who already play the game. And so if you're coming to a new platform, then you're wanting to attract Xbox players. And if you're wanting to attract Xbox players, then tell us what the fucking game is.
Yeah. It's one of those like difficult decisions I'm sure people make with making trailers like that. It's like, okay, do you spend your time and attention making sure all of your loyal players follow you, or trying to attract some people who may or may not be interested in your game?
Yeah.
And like, especially when you like already have an easy slam dunk of like, if we just make a sweet announcement with the people who already love this game, we're gonna have a shitload of players immediately. It's like, why move off the safe option?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my thinking is like, I know that I am willing to buy like I am gonna buy Resident Evil Village on Mac OS when it comes out, but that's because I just want to play it on a Mac to see how it goes.
Yeah.
I am willing to buy games on multiple platforms. Same game, multiple platforms.
Yep.
I feel like most people aren't. And so if it's only a small fraction of the audience, I think that maybe you should have at least done something to try and catch a new audience in Xbox.
Yeah.
Even if you're mostly playing to your existing audience and saying, hey, also come play this on this new platform.
Yeah.
But I really don't think that there was any of that. I think that they just did not give a fuck about telling us what this game is.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, yeah, to be fair, that's also a problem of this is like, I just have no frame of reference for like what this game is and what also its like audience is like. For all I know, they are like rabid and love this game.
Yeah.
And
they're totally willing to go, maybe it's an extremely dedicated audience that is absolutely willing to go play, play it on it or buy it on another platform or invested in the game again on another platform.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know. This is totally unknown to me. So
yeah, but I'll definitely agree with you. They could have done more to bring in people who are unfamiliar with the series.
Yeah. Okay, Pentiment
looked cool.
Looks really cool. And do you know who's doing it?
Obsidian.
Yeah. So exciting about that.
Yeah, they are just also great at making these smaller games that are very unique, like this and Grounded that we'll talk about immediately after.
Yeah, I think that Obsidian because they have they're clearly capable of making very interesting games in many different ways.
Yeah.
Right now Obsidian is working on Avowed. They're working on Outer Worlds 2. They're working on Grounded, and they're working on Pentiment.
Yeah.
4 games, one studio, 4 radically different games.
Yeah.
One studio.
Yeah.
And
the most similar looks to be Avowed and Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds, yeah. And I look at the fact that Obsidian is handling all this, and it's like, is Obsidian kind of low-key becoming the Insomniac of Xbox?
Maybe. And
Insomniac, in my mind at least, is the undisputed champion of Sony's stable.
Yeah.
That's a fairly recent thing. It used to be Naughty Dog, but Insomniac is just so fucking stellar lately.
Yeah. I'll say from what we've seen from Obsidian, a lot of it has been, obviously Grounded and Pentiment. Both seem like fun, kind of snack size games.
Yeah.
They don't have any really heavy hitters. Even Outer Worlds, it's that's a big fan favorite, but
yeah, it's kind of a B tier game.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Pentiment, I'm into it. I'm at least gonna try it. Grounded.
Yeah.
I might actually play Grounded when it finally hits 1.0. I know that the early access was reviewed very poorly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know that the community likes it, but the critics reviewed it and said we're not into this.
That's weird. I mean, I don't know how much you'll like it because I know you don't like crafting survival stuff, and that is absolutely what this game is.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
But definitely trying out the early access when it first came out was a ton of fun playing with people. The sheer fear as you're walking around and you see the giant blades of grass moving off in the distance and it's coming towards you, and a huge ass wolf spider coming after your ass. That is terrifying.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of they did a good job of capturing that kind of that sense in the trailer, because I watched that trailer and I was like, oh wow, am I actually interested in Grounded? I might play this game.
Yeah. And yeah, the fact, especially with those spiders, I don't know exactly how it works, but they've given the spiders a sense in their AI that they can hunt you to a degree.
Oof.
They don't just stick around in one spot.
Yeah.
So you can be oh, I've got my nice safe base area that none of the spiders are near it, and then you'll wander too close to where a spider goes and it'll basically follow you back to your base. And then all of a sudden,
that is very thoroughly unsettling.
Yeah, it's thoroughly unsettling, and it does a good job of keeping you on your toes. Of you can't just set up shop in this safe area and be okay, I'm fine now. Nothing is gonna hurt me because all the spiders wander off elsewhere. It's no, they'll come and find you.
The idea of maybe I won't play Grounded. Okay, so there was a stealth game, Erebon Shadow Legacy.
Looked kind of interesting. I felt from a story perspective, there is kind of a conflict between I don't know, between the story it seemed like it was trying to set up and the gameplay and stuff like that, because it felt like it was trying to set up the story of it's oh, I'm an outcast from a race that's been scattered to the winds, I think was one of the lines in the thing. and like I'm an underdog, I'm on the run. But then like in the trailer, it's like, oh, here's these cool robot things. Oh, she's just murdering them left and right.
Yeah, so there was a lot of this that was like, oh, this is kind of cringy, that I'm not, and like, oh, this is right, like inconsistent, like you're saying. Oh, now she's just totally murdering these things.
It's like I don't know whether she's supposed to be an underdog or a like revenge fueled doom guy.
Right, and I think that's a writing problem that's extremely prevalent, like lately, is you want to, writers are so tempted to position their, because, and like, not to get political, but we live in a society where where people are, I mean, victimhood is currency, right? Yeah. And so everyone wants to see themselves as a victim, and like it or not, video games are escapism, and they are, putting yourself in the shoes of this avatar. And the idea of to escape into a world in which you are unquestionably a victim, but also all powerful, it's like, I understand the temptation of writing that because it's going to play well, to easily play well to an audience that isn't going to think about it.
Yeah. It is definitely a power fantasy.
Yeah, but it's like it is kind of bad writing in my opinion.
It's a cool power fantasy. It's bad storytelling.
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
If you tell me a story of like someone who starts off as an outcast and like they only have like a few abilities at first, like they can dip into shadows, but like they're not great at combat. But then over the course of the game, you become this revenge-fueled badass who is now taking it to these robots who have done these awful things to you.
You've turned the tide of the fight.
You've turned the tide, and now you're just out for revenge and murder. It's like, absolutely, that sounds like fun gameplay and a cool story. But if you just like start off like that, like the trailer seemed to portray, then it's like, that's kind of weird and doesn't leave room for growth.
And like I don't know, so I'm kind of torn on this one, because I feel like so much of it, like we've been talking about, is flawed, but I really love stealth games. And so
the gameplay looks interesting.
Yeah, the gameplay looks good. Yeah, the story looks bad. So
I definitely the gameplay looks awesome. I wish they'd pick a lane between like building yourself up as a character, or are you going to go the Doom guy route of it's like, no, from the get-go we're just establishing
he's just power fantasy.
He's just raw awesome badass, and we're not even going to pretend like he's poor widow Doom guy.
Exactly. God, poor little Doom guy. Okay, but coming to Game Pass in 2023, the stealth elements of it alone are enough for me to like, I'll try it out.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, Diablo 4. Fucking Diablo 4. Yeah. That's the other one on the list that like I will buy a physical copy of that. That game looks so good.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, Diablo's a wild ride. Like, obviously, it's like a critically acclaimed. Everyone loves it. I think I got into Diablo 3 around launch. Obviously, had a lot of issues. I fell off of it, I feel like, multiple times.
Okay.
But yeah, damn if this trailer didn't make me...
you hyped.
Yeah, get me to the point of hype that's like, I'm ready to be her again. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, well, okay, so I actually never played Diablo 3.
No.
And you're gonna say something about me being old. I want the audience to know I am a year and a half older than Ethan.
He is older than me. That's correct.
He just started playing games and experiencing, like, consuming pop culture media way late in life. And so he will say something about me being old. It's not accurate. I didn't play Diablo 1, but I was old enough to play Diablo 2.
Okay.
And I didn't like play a ton of Diablo 2, but what I played of it, like at friends' houses, I definitely had a lot of fun with Diablo 2. I really, really liked it. And like to the point that like I would go over to my friend Brian's house just to play Diablo 2.
Yeah.
And then And then Diablo 3 came out, and I saw it, and it just, like, visually, it looked so bad. It was like, this is not the Diablo that I remember from my childhood.
Yeah.
The bright colors and everything of Diablo 3 were just, I wasn't into it.
Yeah.
And so Diablo 4 having the tagline Back to Darkness, and seeing the aesthetic of Diablo 4 and seeing, like, that Necromancer trailer, just the whole thing, I was like, oh my God, I'm so ready for Diablo. It's been 20 years, but I'm so ready to play Diablo 4.
Yeah. No, I did definitely appreciate the shift from the like Diablo 3 was definitely still like a dark gothic world, but it was slightly cartoony.
Yes.
In terms of like the level of gore and all that stuff. This definitely felt more
hard fantasy.
Yeah, hard fantasy. I was gonna say grounded, but it's not grounded.
It's much more akin to Lord of the Rings than it is to Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like 3 was much more Harry Potter than Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I could see that. Harry Potter with a shitload of blood and guts strewn all over it.
It's a loose comparison.
Yes, fair enough.
But the message got through.
Yes.
I'm so stoked. And 2023. Yeah. And I want to point out that they were clear about this is what you're going to be playing on Xbox and Game Pass in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
So, first half of 2023.
Until it gets delayed, yes.
Until it gets delayed because it's Diablo. So, hopefully sometime in 2025, we'll play Diablo 4.
Maybe.
If it's anything like Diablo 3, hopefully we will play it sometime in 2025.
Yes.
Super stoked on that. And then Sea of Thieves.
Yeah. This was probably the most fun of any of the trailers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sea of Thieves is, like, they are cheeky. Rare, I think it's safe to say, Rare has got their groove back.
Yeah.
Like,
and yeah, just the way this trailer, like, I was just in awe of the way they set up this trailer, honestly, of, like, this was just bullet point after bullet point of this is the, hard facts on what you're getting in the next update, but also presented in a way that's fourth wall breaky, but in the spirit of the universe fun.
Absolutely. It was like a design doc that you would pass out at a business meeting.
Yeah.
But
then it's also a sea shanty.
On a scroll being held by a pirate, being sung in a sea shanty, right? Like, it was just so on point, and I'm so excited about what Sea of Thieves has matured into.
Yeah.
I saw that and I thought, okay, I've never gotten super into Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
But I saw that, but I've always been interested.
Yeah.
I saw that and I thought, okay, I'm going to create a new pirate.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, like, play through and learn to do everything in the game for myself. Learn to, like, okay, here are the systems. I'm going to go learn the systems myself so that I can take more of an active role rather than just being along for the ride.
Yeah.
And this trailer was so good that I downloaded Sea of Thieves last night.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, no, I think what they're focusing on in this trailer is also really good for the game, because I definitely feel like the weak point of Sea of Thieves is the fact there is limited, like, persistence and, like, permanent impact on the world, which definitely is by design, and there are merits to the design decisions of, like, you cannot get any upgrades that make you better as a pirate.
Yeah.
Aside from just actual experience.
Yeah, it definitely levels the playing field quite a bit for new and old players, which I think is really good.
Yeah.
Especially when it's like any players can just rock up on you in your ship and fight you.
Yeah.
And that really, like, not having to do the whole, like, oh, I'm not in passive mode, now people can attack me. Not being able to do that, or not having to do that to get attacked, I think really contributes to the whole ambiance of being a pirate.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely love what they did of, like, having the playing field always be level, but it does leave that missing component of like, okay, what's the persistence? What am I working towards every time I log in? If every time I log in, I'm just logging into, here's another blank ship.
Exactly.
And like I've customized my character, but I can't see that. And like also once you pick the like 5 pieces of clothing you want, it's like, I mean, I don't really need more clothing because I like the clothing I've got.
Yeah, exactly. And like it is a I don't know, it's given the game a feeling of stagnation.
Yeah.
That's just very unfortunate for this game.
Yeah.
But seeing it finally get some level of persistence and some level of continuity is really refreshing and exciting. And I downloaded the game. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna start a new pirate, learn the systems.
Yeah.
Get hopefully, because I've always wanted to get into this game, so hopefully really get into this game.
Yeah. And yeah, you'll have a captain's cabin that you can deck out with. It looks like a lot of different slots you can put various customizations. So it's like you can like fill up, you can spend a ton of sessions being like, okay, today I'm getting this thing to add into my captain's cabin, and you can do that for a while. And
there is a visual representation of like, oh yeah, remember when I went on this adventure?
Yeah.
And also added to that whole situation is like it's we've spent the last 2 nights hanging out with people on Discord.
Yeah.
And we haven't really had that level of like just fun, just hanging out with people on Discord.
Yeah.
Like that since we kind of fell off Apex in season 9?
Yeah, something like
last
that.
Summer. And so like I think that if Sea of Thieves becomes something that we can all rally around, like
that'd be fun.
It leads to like hey, let's just regularly have this multiplayer fun with friends. And season 7 looks to be the perfect time to jump in for that.
Yeah. And now you have a like sense of ownership of your ship.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because that's something you can visually see, and it's not just okay booting up Sea of Thieves, getting my like pre-dumped out for me basic ship.
Exactly. Okay, Ravenlock, an action-adventure fairy tale coming in 2023. I don't remember this one. Open a new tab.
Us both not remembering it is not a great sign.
Oh, that's right. This is the one that was like almost voxel graphics.
Oh, I do remember that vaguely.
I was not impressed.
Okay, interesting. I'm gonna say I wasn't impressed either. It kind of, for some weird reason, reminded me of Psychonauts, so I thought maybe you would find it more interesting.
Yeah, I can see how the art style, because it
especially the like mushroom thing with the skulls on its face. It's like this feels like Psychonauts, but like voxely.
Right. And so the thing about Psychonauts is it's done so incredibly delicately, and like everything has it's just like it's very clear looking at this versus looking at the art of Psychonauts.
Yeah.
It's like it is very clear just the level of skill and experience that the entire team over at Double Fine has.
Yeah.
And so like maybe this team at Ravenlock, like maybe Ravenlock's going to be a great game. We don't know.
Yeah.
But the skill and experience that the team over at Double Fine has to make games as absolutely stunningly gorgeous as Psychonauts and Psychonauts 2.
Yeah.
It just shows. It shows in Ravenlock's trailer of like, okay, you're just not as like clearly there are things that look like they could belong in the world of Psychonauts, but if they were in the world of Psychonauts, the level of polish that these things have and the level of imagination that went into these things is clearly not on par with the rest of the game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting you're that harsh on that aesthetic, I guess, overall. I definitely look at this game and like it's not something that like I'm particularly interested in, but I'm like unless the gameplay shits the bed, I am not at all gonna be surprised if it finds a hardcore
Finds an
niche audience
Yeah.
that is like, oh, we fucking love this aesthetic and the way it's done.
Yeah, and to be clear, I do think that Psychonauts, like, I actually have a piece coming up that I've been brainstorming for a while, but I just need to write it about the art of Psychonauts. And I think the art of Psychonauts is, I would say, arguably the best art ever in a video game.
Okay.
Because it's the art style that is so distinct, but so incredibly well defined
Yeah.
that if you showed me it perfectly hides, and now we're just talking about Psychonauts. But like, if the art style is so well realized that if you showed me a screenshot of Psychonauts 1 on the original Xbox, and I didn't have a screenshot of Psychonauts 2 next to it, and you told me it was Psychonauts 2, I would say, oh, okay.
All right.
And like, but then when I look at it next to Psychonauts 2, it's like, oh, no, those are old graphics. But like the art is so good that it completely hides graphics from 17 years ago.
Yeah. And having an art style like that can account for graphics is really crazy.
It's an extremely difficult thing to do. And doing it as well as Tim Schafer and Double Fine have done is just insane.
Yep. Anyway,
Cocoon.
So I was definitely interested watching this. I am just now finding out that it's also
Limbo
from
and
a
Inside.
creator from Limbo and Inside. So now I am super excited. It's one of those very unique looking gameplay experiences of like, no, I've never been a alien moth type thing exploring a uncharted world, but I love space and exploration and aliens.
Yeah, I'm less intrigued by that than you are, but the whole creator of Inside and Limbo, I'm on board, right?
Yeah.
It's like that alone is all you really need to do to sell me.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
The gameplay looked interesting, but I could also see where in the finished product, it's a little bit lacking or one note. It felt like a lot of move the ball to where it goes.
Yeah, I agree. So and is this one Cocoon
In 2023.
2023 does not say coming to Game Pass though, so I don't know. Hopefully it gets added to Game Pass shortly after.
Hopefully, but
or if it's like a $20 game.
Yeah. Honestly, considering it's from a creator of Limbo and Inside, unless it like reviews horribly, I'll probably get it.
Interesting. I will wait to maybe watch you play a little bit then.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, then. Oh, and that Cocoon is also Annapurna. So, okay, Wolong Fallen Dynasty. Team Ninja. It's good to know what they're doing. All I really thought about it was like, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah. I have not really. I know they're big. I have not followed along with Team Ninja.
It seems like it's like I guess there just wasn't enough there.
Yeah.
To really make a good judgment. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But then and I know that this leaked. Mm-hmm. I didn't see the leak before. The show. I intentionally didn't look at news before the show.
Okay, that's why.
I was trying to avoid leaks.
Yeah.
They said Atlas, and I was like, no fucking way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw it was Persona 3 Portable, and I was like, oh, it's just P3P.
Yeah. But then they're like,
and then it shifted, and I was like, oh, it's P4G too, Persona 4 Golden. Mm-hmm. And that means that the next one is going to be, and then Persona 5 Royal. And I'm not even into these games.
Yeah.
But this, it's a cold day in hell.
Yeah.
I never thought we would see this. Never thought we would see this.
Yeah.
But here we are, Persona 3, 4, and 5 coming to Xbox.
Yeah.
Persona 5 Royal will be the first one coming in October. I don't think that these games are really either of our thing.
Yeah, it's definitely like I've heard enough good things about them that I'm it's approaching the level of interest for me to like go ahead and get it, but it's still like on the line.
But coming to Game Pass.
Yeah. Oh shit, is it coming to Game Pass?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm probably gonna end up playing those then.
Yeah. So, and like people, I mean, Persona 5 is like one of the best reviewed games ever.
Yeah.
So, the Persona games. Now, there is one last game to discuss, but we've been talking for an hour and a half, and we still have to get Chipotle, and we are going to have so much to talk about with Starfield.
So much Starfield.
That we are going to do that next week.
Wait. But what about Hideo Kojima?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so
it's
so
not
they
a
didn't.
game.
It wasn't a game, but okay, we will talk about Hideo Kojima. The whole Xbox Cloud thing has been rumored. Like Kojima using the power, like Xbox's power of the cloud, to make a game, has been rumored for a few years now.
Yeah.
It's interesting to know that the rumors are true.
Mm-hmm.
I adore Metal Gear.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Metal Gear.
I'm very aware.
I really liked the story of Death Stranding.
That's great.
So I'm on board. I'm stoked to see Kojima coming to Xbox for what will presumably be an exclusive game.
Yeah, I am stoked for very different reasons in that Death Stranding, the gameplay of that was, in my opinion, phenomenal.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people did not like it, and I think for fair reasons. It resonated with me.
It struck a chord with you.
It struck a chord with me. I'm like, I can set up a zipline network to make all these deliveries super efficient and easy.
Ethan, I can see your boner through your pants just talking about. Yeah, no, it's I'm super excited about this.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, no, this is awesome, and a big get for Xbox.
A big get for Xbox. I wonder what engine they'll use. Mm-hmm. Because when they formed Kojima Productions, he shopped around. Like, he traveled the earth for 2 years, I think.
I think I remember hearing about this.
Shopping around for a graphics engine, and he settled on Decima Engine, which Decima Engine, if you're unaware, is the proprietary engine developed in-house by Guerrilla for Horizon.
Gotcha.
And so he used Decima to make Death Stranding.
Yeah.
And now
it looks fantastic.
And like it looks incredible, right?
Yeah.
But now
but
I wonder if he's just gonna go with the easy route and do Unreal 5.
Yeah.
Or I wonder if he's gonna somehow manage to negotiate a licensing agreement for Decima to come to Xbox.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like the least likely thing, because I feel like that's the best play for Sony right now, is to be like, no, you can't use our Decima engine.
Yeah. Or Sony could use it as a means of like a bargaining chip of like, yeah, you can use Decima, but the game's got to come to PlayStation.
Yeah, potentially. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's a case of like, obviously, he chose Decima as his first, but he has a second choice that's more available to Xbox.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he spent 2 years familiarizing himself with all of the best graphics engines. So we'll see what he ends up choosing.
After spending 5 years, it wouldn't shock me if he's like, oh yeah, no, like this was my top one, but I also like
there are others that I like a lot.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see what he ends up choosing. I am always on board for a Kojima game. Mm-hmm.
I really like his gameplay. His story does not hit for me.
Just play Metal Gear Solid, okay? Play Metal Gear Solid.
Not gonna work.
Here's the thing: you got to play it. Snake Eater, Peace Walker, Phantom Pain.
That. I'm doing none of this.
And then Twin Snakes, Sons of Liberty, Guns of the Patriots.
I'll just add that to the list of the games I'm not playing.
I hate you. Okay, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. That's all we've got for you this week. Tune in next week to hear us talk about Starfield and our reactions to that. Spoiler alert, we both walked away with gigantic gigantic boners for that game.
Yes.
So you can see everything we do all in one spot over at coldnorthpro.com. You can subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you found us on. Until next week, reset.